Hughie Green. For some, he was the smiling face of British light entertainment, the man who brought ordinary people into the spotlight and made dreams come true. For others, he was a ruthless operator, a man whose private life would one day overshadow his entire career. Today, we explore the rise, the fall, and the aftershocks of one of Britain's most controversial television personalities. Hughie Green was born on the 2nd of February, 1920 in Marylebone, London. His father, a former British Army officer, pushed him toward the stage from a young age. By 14, Hughie already had his own radio show and a touring concert party, performing hundreds of shows a year. His early life was defined by relentless ambition. Even as a teenager, he wasn't just performing, he was hustling, organizing, and building a brand before the word brand even existed. During the Second World War, Green served as a bomber pilot in the Royal Air Force. After the war, he returned to show business with renewed determination, appearing on radio, stage, and eventually the new frontier of television. This was a man who understood opportunity, and he was about to seize it. In the 1950s and 60s, Hughie Green became a household name. His quiz show, Double Your Money, was a national sensation, but it was opportunity knocks that cemented his legacy. The program ran for decades, launching the careers of countless performers and giving ordinary people a chance to shine. Green cultivated an image of warmth and generosity. Uncle Hughie, the man who believed in the talent of the British public. But behind the scenes, the picture was far more complicated. Colleagues often described Green as controlling, demanding, and fiercely protective of his shows. He fought bitter battles with television executives, insisting on creative control and pushing for higher production values. His ambition was undeniable, but so was his ego. As the years went on, his public persona of kindness clashed with private behavior that many found manipulative or domineering. The cracks in the facade were beginning to show. By the late 1970s, Green's career was faltering. His once beloved shows were losing relevance, and his reputation within the industry had soured. After more than 2 decades at the top, Hughie Green faded from British screens. But the most shocking chapter of his story was still to come, one that would only emerge after his death. Hughie Green died on the 3rd of May, 1997, aged 77. At his funeral, his close friend Noel Botham stepped forward and delivered a revelation that stunned the nation. Hughie Green was the biological father of TV presenter Paula Yates. Paula herself had been horrified by the discovery. She had always despised Green, unaware of their true connection. The revelation triggered a media storm, adding yet another layer of tragedy to a family already marked by loss. This final twist reshaped Hughie Green's legacy forever. The entertainer who once championed ordinary people had kept an extraordinary secret, one that would overshadow everything he had built. So who was Hughie Green? A pioneer of British television, a champion of working-class talent, a man whose shows shaped the entertainment landscape for a generation, but also a man whose private life was riddled with secrecy, conflict, and controversy. His story is a reminder that fame often hides more than it reveals. Hughie Green wanted to be remembered as the man who gave people their big break. Instead, history remembers him as a figure of contradictions, talented, ambitious, and deeply flawed. What follows is a documentary looking into Hughie Green's story. If you enjoy, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time as we explore another complex character from Britain's past.
Well, friends, that's it. Before I say goodbye, I'd like to thank the Thames staff who've made Britain's top talent show possible. For myself, well, it's been a pleasure. Good night.
Hughie Green's funeral was a very, very sad occasion.
Everything was going swimmingly, really.
Just before the coffin was about to disappear behind the curtain,
a journalist called Noel Botham got up and made this speech.
He started revealing home truths about Hughie Green's private life.
I always promised Hughie that he would go out with a bang.
Hughie Green, he was the father of a very, very well-known TV star whose name I'm not going to say right here.
What? Your brain literally freezes. This isn't happening. I'm not hearing this. Who is this man? What is he trying to do?
It was horrible.
I mean, you have to leave behind an awful stink on this mortal coil to have that kind of a funeral.
And here he is, your compere, Hughie Green.
Hughie Green was the most famous man in Britain.
British television's only variety show where your votes alone make the women.
Me and Eddie were just flogging it in the working men's clubs, and this guy gave us our chance to become stars.
He was showbiz, he had his catchphrases.
OK, folks, it's
Make your mind up time.
It's regularly getting 20 million viewers.
The viewers felt they knew him.
He was known as Uncle Hughie.
But if you got on the wrong side of him, he could be horrendous and was the kind of person that you did not cross.
And because of his political views,
For God's sake, Britain, wake up!
he knocked himself out of the business.
I would get so angry with people telling me that Hughie Green was a womanizing.
Stuff happened.
There's only a couple of things in my life that I've regretted. The whole station would explode if I told you what one of them was.
Uncle Hughie went a bit too far, didn't he?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
He had like a big fake moustache and he would wobble it.
Tell him the subscription's too high. I'm not going to join it.
He had catchphrases and sort of invented the English language. When he wanted to get out of talking about something, he would say, "How's your father?" And that became a euphemism for illicit sex, which might be relevant to the story of Hughie Green. To be appearing with Harry Tate was a serious business. Albeit, your only job is to crank the propeller of a prop plane. But Hughie Green went on to fly. And of course, he went on to become deeply involved in showbiz through most of his life. That's probably a significant moment. That's probably the Hughie Green equivalent of being bitten by a radioactive spider.
Hughie Green's gang had a huge touring schedule. He'd be up and down the country, 700 shows a year, twice daily.
He was making 20 grand a year, which if you work out the inflation for that is kind of over $1 million today. For a child.
He bought himself a Rolls Royce. I mean, unheard of, really. I think that when you earn that kind of money at a very young age, and there doesn't appear to be any let-up, it gives you a certain degree of power. And I think he used that power.
Hughie was a child star and he had big ambitions. I also believe he was quite the womanizer and he was quite the charmer.
He never had to go up to a lady and ask for the lady to do him a favour. There was always 3 dozen waiting. Always.
Hughie Green appeared in a film called Mixed Jinx alongside his godfather, Harry Tate. You see him doing an impression of Mae West. It's just uncanny.
Miss Mae West speaking. I think your country's just too marvelous. And your place, oh, what wonderful man.
A young child sounding like this brash brassy American megastar, famous for her kind of lewd jokes. It's really weird, it's uncanny. From there on in, he made other films. You could see footage of him in the films doing these amazing kind of comic dances. By the late 1930s, Hughie Green was such a big star. And then, of course, in 1939, war breaks out. The family moved out to Hollywood to try and see if he could break into films there.
He didn't really know how to do that. He was confused about it all. If you're a 14-year-old and you are running a Hollywood film and people are dealing with you as if you're the boss, and you go in private and weep because you're frightened all day, that was what he tried to explain to me. His dad wanted him to take decisions which were blatantly wrong, and he and his dad had more arguments than loving moments.
Of course, he would have been at quite an awkward age then. He's not a child star anymore. He's sort of in his late teens. I mean, he's an adult, really. It's always the difficult thing for a child star. Can you continue that career once you're not cute anymore?
In the middle of the spring, I realized all about that certain thing.
He was embarrassed sometimes about his appearances in films because he used to say, I can't dance, I can't tell a joke, I can't sing, I can't even walk properly. What is it about me that gives me the right to have my name above the title?
He moved to Canada to join the Air Force there, and planes was this big passion of his.
He was a squadron leader in the Canadian Air Force. He also was a ferry pilot. A ferry pilot went out to injured aeroplanes and flew injured aeroplanes back to get them mended, so he'd come back with half a wing or something.
He was a brilliant pilot. He had a lot of people who really wanted to fly with him because he had a reputation of flying very falling apart aircraft safely to wherever they had to be taken. And I think that was a great boost to his ego.
Hughie Green was very right-wing in that proper patriotic, chest-beating, brook no opposition way. And I think that having fought in the war might have contributed towards that, you know, giving you a feeling that I did my bit for Queen and country, although, of course, he did his bit for Queen and another country, in a way. Hughie met a young socialite called Claire Wilson in Canada. They eventually moved back to London. They had 2 children, and he wasn't much of a kind of model father.
He was away a lot, had countless affairs. I think sometimes he imagined that it was a nuisance, you know, having to be responsible for a family life that he didn't really want to be a part of. I think he also drank quite a lot.
He regarded himself as not a very good father.
Family life wasn't a happy experience for him.
Although Variety was doing really well at that point, he wouldn't have necessarily found it easy to get back into. It's several years since he's been doing the circuit. So he manages to get a show on the radio on the BBC in 19... up getting into a legal dispute with the BBC and tries to sue them, which takes up a lot of time, a lot of money, but also is sort of shooting himself in the foot. It is the monopoly broadcaster at that point in the UK, so it's a crazy thing to have done. Think about the vengeful drive you'd have to try and take the BBC to court and win. Basically, he lost the case. And he came out £14,000 in debt, which works out today as like 300 grand or something. That's a serious amount of money to pay off. But of course, 1955 is a very significant year as well, because that's the year that everything changes in terms of British broadcasting, because that's the year that ITV starts.
The rules were being written as we were going on.
It's regularly getting 20 million viewers.
I do remember being behind the doors, waiting on my name being announced. And this is a career-defining moment.
Because he was flying across the Atlantic, he was spending time in America, and the American TV style was very different from the UK style. Everything's about being a salesman, selling yourself. Tonight, we've got this great lineup. Check this out, it's crazy. You know, that kind of style of TV.
You get on the thing.
It was a brand new thing. When I went into television in those days, my father said to me, "Well, you're going to work ITV, it'll never last. People won't want to watch you play and then have a cornflake on in the middle of it. They won't come to it." The general consensus opinion was that this would never last. The rules were being written as we were going on.
ITV Launches changing British broadcasting forever because it's a much more popular style of TV. And Hughie Green gets in there straight away, the year it launches, with a show called Double Your Money.
Double your money and try to get rich.
Double your money, da-da-da-da-da. Without any hitch, that's it, that's the theme.
Do you know the answer to the 32-pound question?
This kid's crazy. I'm the question master.
This is the master of ceremony and the star of tonight, Hughie Green.
Double Your Money was a simple, it was, if you like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Now, between each question, I turn around and I ask the contestant, I say, would you like to double your money? And if the person says, well, no, Hughie, I'd like to take the money I already have, we give them that money and we're delighted to see them go.
Because he had time in America, this sort of posh voice that he grew up with, posh British voice, was replaced by this classic sort of American huckster voice.
Now, you've got 16 pounds, Alan. What do you want to do, double your money or take the 16? Eh? What? All that, now, wait a minute, first.
I'll have a go.
You what?
I'll carry on.
You'll carry on, all right.
Hughie Green brought a passion to what he did. That was evident in the way he spoke. It was evident in the way that he loved his audience. That was a connecting point. Everybody communicates, but few connect. And Hughie Green was a great connector with an audience.
You can come and have tea with me. And she'll let us have the dining room on our own. No funny business.
No funny business.
Hughie Green was seemingly a very flash, capable presenter, but what he was doing was providing a platform for every man. He would create stars out of ordinary people, and that hadn't been done before.
Television was absolutely packed, jam full of professionals, and there was somewhere in there for ordinary people and amateurs.
Here he is, your compere, Hughie Green.
And tonight, welcome once again to British television's only variety show where your votes and your votes alone make the winner.
The format of Opportunity Knocks begins really with an attitude. And the attitude was, we are going to be positive about everything that you're about to see.
It's very rare that a novelty act such as yours has won, but I think you've done tremendously well.
These are new people, new to you. They are nervous. They're trying to win your votes. They're trying to impress you, but they're not stars. And I'm not a star.
This is a new approach to getting the talent that we're not used to. thousands of people coming from perhaps a mining town, very working class backgrounds.
Dennis Morn from Bradford, the Ukrainian Cossack Brotherhood from Stockport, little and large.
We met him, and I mean, he was a megastar. Me and Eddie were just two lads flogging it in the working men's clubs for years, and this guy gave us our chance to become stars, and it worked.
You know, give them a chance. You can't knock that. Opportunity unknocked.
Why do you think it's so popular?
If you watch the show for 3 weeks, we probably revolved every different type of show business. And if you don't like us then, I'm afraid you'll have to leave us.
Girl singers, voice singers, comedians.
The wife had run off with a fella next door and... Oh, I did miss him.
Groups, choirs, juveniles.
When you went on, it was just tremendous. And then, of course, it was all over in about 3 minutes.
OK, folks,
Make your mind up time.
It very much invites you to be one of the judges. It's not a programme to be watched in deathly silence. What do you think of this one? Oh, I hate this one. Oh, this one's brilliant. And the whole show's based on that. You know, are these acts any good? Do I like them?
The clapometer. Still don't know how it works till this day.
The clapometer. There's just a man in the back going, woo.
That is complete nonsense, total nonsense. And it was a straightforward measure of decibel, that's all it is. So it was volume of applause, that was all. And it was there purely for fun. And Green said that every time. This is for fun. It's got nothing to do with the vote.
In those days, there was no such thing as a text or get on your app and vote. It was literally write a postcard, stick a stamp on it, go to the post box, and get it away.
Opportunity knocks again for Bobby, 18 years of age, office boy crush.
I won on the clapometer in the studio. He took me to one side, he said, I think you're going to do very well. And I'm half expecting that you'll be back again next week.
Where's your guitar?
He's got it over there.
Can we have his guitar on, please? Good job we don't play piano.
We won it in the studio. We thought, wow.
I came second to a singing Jack Russell dog. So you can imagine. Mortification. I went, oh, that's it then. My career's, you know, ended before it's taken off. Didn't matter because somebody was looking from his TV screen at home and said, I'd like to offer this girl a recording contract.
I ended up winning Opportunity Knocks for 6 weeks in a row. The format was that you just kept coming back week after week until somebody knocked you out. So to be seen by that many people over a 6-week period is an incredible springboard for a new person's career.
How about the office boy job? I mean, now that you're at the play, you got another week at the Palladium, you're going to give up the office?
We've another week at the Palladium, but the offers are coming in so well that it looks like my tea-making days may be over.
I see. Wasn't that great? Isn't that tremendous?
I do remember being behind the doors, waiting on my name being announced, just standing there thinking, any moment these are going to open, and you were thinking, this is a career-defining moment.
Hear the drum.
From Bonnie, Scotland, Neil Reid. Neil.
Gave that situation out to Anton Deck or any host, they would feel the need to take everything onto themselves and do, me.
Mother of mine, you gave to me.
If my mum was still alive, I'd be having a word with her about the hairdo. I just loved the whole television studio experience, you know. I was a 12-year-old kid who just enjoyed climbing over all the techie stuff and getting involved behind the camera. And that, to me, was almost more fun than winning the show. Hughie clearly knew what you were about to go through because he'd been through it himself. I think what he also knew, because he was super commercial, right? And he knew that children sold and children were appealing, providing they could deliver the goods.
Every artist was dealt with properly as an artist.
Oh, the muscle man, Tony Holland. Oh, I mean, how can you go to a working men's club and do that? But he did. Oh, unbelievable. Oh, here we go, the cheeks, yeah.
Tony Holland appeared at an audition we had in Blackpool, and we auditioned this man in his Speedo trunks, and then he turned on and he tweaked his buttocks in Sound of Music and his pectoral muscles, and we were roaring with laughter. Da 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 da.
We got a phone call again, you know. Hughie would like you to come down and do one of the shows. We said, no, we can't do it, we're in Newcastle. So Roy said, I've had a word with Hughie, and he said, I'm going to fly up to Newcastle after the show tonight. I thought, great, you know, Hughie Green flying us. We got to Heathrow, and we get in the plane, and up we go. Round about Birmingham, Hughie said, we've got a problem. Oh, because I don't like flying anyway, you know. Well, he didn't, nothing stressed him. He was right, you know, calm. And me and Eddie were, we're going to land, we're going to land. We made it to the club. I had to go to the toilet and change my underpants.
The dude gets so angry with young people telling me that Hughie Green was a womanizing.
Stuff happened. Stuff happened.
Opportunity knocks!
Hughie Green at one point was the most famous man in Britain. He was Mr. Television. He created a show that made a lot of stars.
Friends, what does this map represent? Limerick, Glasgow, Leeds, Belfast, Birmingham, Plymouth, Manchester. These are just some of the centres. We auditioned over 10,000 acts this season for your Opportunity Knocks.
He was probably considered the Simon Cowell of his day.
We all on the team have a tremendous satisfaction when we see somebody become a world star.
Hughie Green was a very charming man. You could tell he was a charmer. From my point of view, he was a lovely uncle. He was, to me, very genuine, very kind.
Are you taking singing lessons right now? You are. All right, well, now what we'd like to do is we'd like to hear you again. Tell your singing teacher that your top register needs to be watched. In other words, you're not quite getting it. It's a little bit weak. Did you feel that yourself? Did you feel that? You did, all right.
At times a bit patronising, but very kind man. I saw nothing more than that personally to me. To other people, I saw something a little bit more, let's use the word, slimy. That's it.
Do I like girls?
No, you do like girls.
Well, of course, it's rather difficult to say.
No, come on. A good question on that. Girls must proposition you just to get on your show.
On one occasion, a lady arrived at my house and asked if she could have a drink, and I said yes, she could. She said she'd been sent to me. The time I came back from having the drink, she'd taken all her clothes off. I love ladies. I think they're here to stay.
The dude gets so angry with young people telling me that Hughie Green was a womanizing. It's become folklore now.
The world was quite a different place. I'm not saying that's right, but, you know, stuff happened. Stuff happened. There was a singer, and I do remember there being an air of favoritism, let's call it, and some of them being a little bit over-familiar, shall we say. I felt there was something going on that meant she was going to win and come back next week. Funny enough, that's what happened.
It is sad to read certain newspapers who have in their reporting made cruel, false, and damning innuendo by directly linking my name with this, as they describe it, fiddle.
When the newspapers started rumours about Hughie with contestants off the show, that made me very, very angry. If there ever had been a contestant on the show who had been bothered by Hughie Green, they would have come forward. Hasn't won, because it never happened.
Comment ça va? And how about that dress? That's what's called a lo and behold dress.
He was heterosexual. He was very healthy. And I don't know a man in this country with that amount of fame. He was a perfect gentleman.
Hughie Green was a professional, right down to his boots. I don't care what anyone says. I don't believe it one iota. If he did do something like that, he'd most probably do it in private.
Like a lot of people of a similar sort of psychological type to Hughie Green, he was a womanizer, and that started very young. It started when he was in his teens, and it went on throughout his marriage, and I guess it was something that his wife knew about and learned to live with, and it went on for a long time with a lot of different women. But of course, there is an emotional cost to that, and you leave behind scars. I mean, certainly it must be very difficult for his wife, and I imagine for many of the women that he had affairs with. And it went on until the point where something horrible happened.
And I think her parting shot was, before you find hidden charms in their mother, I'm going. And that was it. She'd had enough.
When somebody's sort of emotionally dysfunctional, it can be seen as, oh, it was just his eccentricity, or what a lad, you know, he had all these women. But of course, there's an emotional cost to that. You don't do that kind of behaviour without damage. I mean, I don't know how you come back from that emotionally.
They wanted to find out whether the votes were fixed, whether Hughie Green was having it off with the girl singer, whether I was. We knew that if any of us did anything so stupid, we were cutting our own income, our own throats. Simple as that.
Noel had first met Hughie when he'd gone to do an expose on him. There were rumours going around that Hughie was being inappropriate with some of his female staff.
A journalist approached him, Noel Botham, who worked for tabloid newspapers and so on, and confronted him with this allegation.
And we said to the press, there's the filing cabinet, there's the king, open it, go through it. There's a list of our entire audition schedule. Please be there.
Providing you can keep it in your pants for 3 weeks or however long it was, then it's pretty easy to show yourself as being innocent.
Hughie was very good at working people. He would get people on his side. He would navigate his way out of a bad situation in order to save his own back.
And they got on like a house on fire. They became really close friends. And they go sailing together. And they were just really good buddies. And spent a lot of time together in here, always this end. This is the regulars end of the bar.
He took Noel under his wing and gave him information that became more valuable than doing an expose on himself.
Hughie had a rivalry with a gentleman called Jess Yates, who was a TV producer at Yorkshire TV. He was actually a performer as well and fronted a show which I was actually on a couple of times called Stars on Sunday.
And it's sort of hard to conjure up the misery of Sunday television if you weren't alive in the 1970s.
Jess Yates presented this very sort of avuncular figure sitting at the organ saying, I'd now like to play a hymn for Mrs. Brown. And it was all very, homely and a bit cheesy, but it was very, very popular. It was like, on a Sunday night, 15 million viewers.
Now we come to our Bible reading for this week.
My family were all churched people. So Jess Yates was like the Pope. I did 13 Stars on Sundays. We went into his exec office at Yorkshire Television. Jess was clearly not happy with something on a monitor in the corner of the room, and he picked the phone up, spoke to the floor manager, get that bleep, 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 bleep bitch to look at the bleep, 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 bleep camera. And my mum was sat with her jaw on the floor thinking, I don't believe what I'm hearing here. He was just not what you saw on TV.
What I didn't know at the time was that Jess Yates and Hughie Green had a bit of history, and I don't think that they were the best of chums.
So it's a game show. You win flights.
I love travel. I love travel. It's one of the reasons why I like to do shows that bring travel to people at home, because it shows them things that possibly many of them won't have the good fortune that I've had to go and see. I give each captain his instructions. And now I shall go and meet some of the other fine people in Jamaica.
Bringing Jess Yates in to be the producer of The Sky's the Limit was not a great move, because there was already bad blood between him and Hughie Green, because 16 years earlier, they'd known each other and they'd been quite friendly. But Hughie Green, true to form, had had an affair with Jess Yates' wife, which would annoy anybody, I feel.
Thank you very much. You see, everything is beautiful here in Jamaica.
But you're not allowed to touch.
No, you're not.
One of the things Jess Yates wants to do is kind of sex it up a bit by having kind of people in bikinis and that kind of thing.
We have a very beautiful lady fresh out of the pool. How was the water?
Beautiful.
I thought you were going to say wet there for a moment.
Very raunchy for a Saturday night in the mid-1970s. Hughie Green didn't like this because despite being a horrible philanderer, he was also an arch moralist. So, it's that's disgraceful having bikinis on the telly. Never mind my affairs. That's nothing to do with it. This is disgraceful. There was this big dispute.
Hughie Green and Jess Yates were rivals. Their careers were very similar in many respects. They were both on television, they both ran television stations, they were both very power-hungry. And at that point as well, people who ran television stations came from theatre, they came from show business. They didn't come from university with a degree, they weren't corporate. It was their personality. It was still like the old show business sort of producers who ran the place and what they said went.
I have to say, in those days, most of the business was done in bars. You know, it is different nowadays. Alcohol isn't a part of the world anymore. But then, alcohol was a part of everything. And in the bar was a very public place. Hughie Green and Jess Yates had this argument where Green ended up saying, I cannot and will not wear the Yorkshire Television tie. I will not wear your bloody tie. So it became a big argument and a standoff argument. And a journalist got hold of it. Fight between Hughie Green and Jess Yates, and they hate each other.
Hughie Green believed that the reason that this show had been cancelled was Jess Yates, and he was definitely one to bear a grudge. Anita Kay was an actor and a model and had been in things like one of the Confessions films, so sort of sex comedies, that kind of thing.
Back in the late 70s, we had this idea that it was appropriate to make saucy comedies.
Jess Yates was nicknamed the Bishop. So then you've got a really nice headline, The Actress and the Bishop, because of course there's an old saying, as the actress said to the bishop. It's like when people say, that's what she said now, it's the same thing. It's great to sell a tabloid story on a line.
The Actress and the Bishop. It was a gift, and the press went to town with it.
Ooh!
Have you read this? Oh, amazing.
The actress and the bishop. It's hilarious, isn't it? You couldn't make it up.
There was a big hoo-ha because he was a religious gentleman. I suppose it's the same as Freddie Starr ate my hamster. I mean, people pounce on the actress and the bishop, don't they?
Because he was pretending to be so puritanical and holier than thou, the rug was pulled from under him.
Poor old Jess's demise. There were hordes of journalists interested in a counter-story, but Jess was having none of it. He was bundled into the boot of a car, which sped away from Yorkshire television and Jess into obscurity, which is very sad. Well, that's the kind of thing that you would do to a pop star, you know, to keep them away from all the screaming hordes of girls, you know. But I can't imagine that Jess Yates ever had any hordes of screaming girls. Might have had a few grannies.
According to Christopher Green's book, Hughie Green got to find out about the affair that Anita was having with Jess Yates because he was auditioning for The Sky's the Limit. And
you know, at home, nobody will find out. They might have thought, well, I better not say no.
that's a totally Me Too story. It's an abusive moment, a moment of horrible misogynistic abuse by Hughie Green.
For God's sake, Britain, wake up!
Good grief. I mean, that is terrifying, really terrifying. And that is someone who has lost absolute perspective with where they are in the world.
No, you're not doing that, Hughie. No, you're not. You're not doing that.
The equivalent would be if Nigel Farage was invited onto the end of Britain's Got Talent to do a 3-minute monologue.
Uncle Hughie went a bit too far, didn't he?
One of the feelings that was going through the British psyche in the 1970s was that everything was broken and not working. So the economy was in trouble, emergency bailouts by the IMF. There was massive industrial action.
As the strikers freeze on the picket line, they're constantly reminded by a pile of dead rats. They'll have to stay where they are until the road sweepers go back to work.
That feeling that everything was kind of going wrong, and I suppose different people had different solutions, and Hughie Green's solution was a right-wing patriotic solution.
Not for the first time, the sceptred isle finds itself alone on a raging sea of world despair. Lest we perish.
Wow.
Let us all together say in 1975, both to the nation, to each other, and to ourselves, for God's sake, Britain, wake up!
Wow. He should have done that speech now, shouldn't he? Where is he today? Where's Hughie Green today?
What happened was he started to become rebellious and do things with the show that were weird, because he felt he could, because he was the big star and he had the power to do that.
I was watching Opportunity Knocks as a viewer and was starting to see Hughie doing things and saying things which I wouldn't have allowed him to do. I would have stopped it in rehearsal. No, you're not doing that, Hughie. No, you're not. You're not doing that. His personal politics were very complex because he'd come from a moneyed background. But 90% of his audience were working class. And he loved that. And he felt sorry for the things they couldn't have. And it was that mix, I think, that eventually confused him, because he was trying to say to his audience in the end, come on, chaps, you got it all wrong. Politics was always an absolute no-no.
Hughie was very difficult, both on set and off set. He had quite a temper on him.
And eventually he did Stand Up and Be Counted, which was the kiss of death to anybody when you went, oh, that's the end of Hughie Green.
In your farewell to 1976, did you see Britain old and worn on the brink of ruin, bankrupt in all but heritage and hope?
And then Hughie Green suddenly started declaiming like an orator, like a fascist Hitler, like Donald Trump. There has to be a joke. Somebody's going to throw a bucket of water on him or something. Something's got to happen. Wasn't a joke.
Let it be our year to lift up our heads and resolve. But determination, hard work, freedom from strikes, better management, and from us all, guts. Lest without these virtues, we lose our freedom forever.
Stand up and be counted. Don't be cowards. Stand up, Britain. Make America great again. It was one of those. And it was wrong. It was wrong.
Good grief. That's really propaganda, isn't it? I mean, that is terrifying. And that is someone who has lost absolute perspective with where they are in the world. Good grief. Uncle Hughie went a bit too far, didn't he?
I think a lot of the people in power at Thames Television thought that that was just a step too far, because he was getting very political.
The culture war, the people who go on about wokeness and stuff, that's what they think would be great entertainment, just some sort of patriotic nonsense.
I mean, it was so not what you expected to see on a talent show. Certainly not one where I was on and then I got beaten by a singing dog.
The equivalent would be if Nigel Farage was invited onto the end of Britain's Got Talent to do a 3-minute monologue, and then they had the 30-piece military band behind.
I knew when I saw it, I said, that's the end of Hughie Green.
In conclusion, I thank the artists, you, the viewers, for your support and your votes.
Am I surprised that after that the show is cancelled? No! I mean, honestly, you can't have someone like that running television. That becomes propaganda. I mean, you know, you start to look at all the major sort of megalomaniacs, all the sort of the dictators of the world, and he's just right next door.
For myself, well, it's been a pleasure. May I say there's no truth in that rumor that I'm retiring. Bless you all. Good night.
Don't you ever be sad, because you can lean on me.
Hughie really scrabbled for work after Opportunity Knocks. Nobody really wanted to give him a break, but he did end up making a film called What's Up, Super Doc, which was something along the lines of a Confessions of a Window Cleaner type film, and Hughie did a cameo.
Here's a guy who's the father of 837 babies and hasn't even got a regular girlfriend. I think that's wonderful, Doc. I really think that's wonderful.
He had a role called Bob Scratchit. He was only on screen for about 5 minutes, but it was the sort of job that he certainly wouldn't have taken on had he still been Mr. TV. It was just that that was all that was on offer to him, and he took it, just to be seen.
Now
we take the unusual step of running the interview because Mr. Green suggested Radio Trent dare not run it.
Well, we want to know what you're doing now.
What am I doing? Look at me, I'm surrounded with beautiful women. Come over here, madam, just a second. Now, this lady here, right here, what is your name?
Mary Davis.
Mary Davis, and she's gorgeous, isn't she?
She's lovely.
She is so sexy looking too. What?
Just say one thing.
One thing.
Really missed the opportunity now.
That's very sweet. Very sweet. What many people are doing now is writing to their MPs, saying that it's a disgrace that the show has been taken off.
Hughie, do you think there's any danger that now that the show is over, you may be forgotten?
I couldn't care less whether I'm forgotten or not. Have you forgotten me?
One lone voice.
That's a kind of a snide remark. Now go and ask something else nasty.
Oh.
Well, what are you going to be doing now?
That's none of your business. Now, may I ask you a question? Why don't you shave? Ladies and gentlemen, we have just been talking to the four-eyed interviewer from Radio Trent. Now, why don't you go back to your morgue and bury yourself? Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, that was quite Hughie, all of that.
That's what they call you. How long you've waited to get where you are.
Yes, the BBC wanted it, but they didn't want him. They wanted Bob Monkhouse. Hughie was edged out, and I think that he was very bitter.
And to have somebody else's name sort of stamped onto the brand would have been a bit of a stomach punch.
We have searched for amateurs and aspirants all over Britain, people from every walk of life. You'll be amazed what we've discovered. We found a clown in County Down. We found a vent in Kent. A joker in Roker, a jester in Leicester, a freak in Leek, a balloon twister in Bicester, and a stripper who was very disappointing in the Bristol area.
I would imagine if Hughie Green tuned in to his replacement, Bob Monkhouse, he would probably have been white hot, perhaps, with rage.
But hark, I hear the knocking of opportunity.
And probably, excuse the pun, green with envy.
Hughie Green is the father of one of the most recognisable TV presenters of the day.
The press went mad the next few days trying to find out who it was.
I always promised Hughie that he would go out with a bang. Really, the reason that he didn't go on to do anything beyond his exit was because people were just too scared that he was going to be up to his old tricks and upset a lot of people and behave in a very boorish manner. I seem to recall quite a lengthy interview with Terry Wogan on the BBC. He didn't come out directly and say, you know, I was sacked, but he hinted at it.
Did you go of your own accord or were you pushed?
Yeah. Look at them all at home waiting to hear what's going to be said.
No, fair enough.
Well, let us say this. It was, to be fair, let us say it was 50-50.
I think there comes a time when you have to go. Hughie eventually had to bite the bullet.
Now that that had gone, I think he sort of lost himself a wee bit.
Hughie Green didn't have a huge amount of success with his massive law cases. He found out about a version of Opportunity Knocks that had been running in New Zealand without his blessing or anything.
On Opportunity Knocks.
He perhaps understandably tried to sue for copyright infringement.
Thank you.
But the case dragged on for years and went to the highest level and was found to have no merit and left him with an enormous bill. You think he would have learned from past experience, but I guess, again, if you're a massive egotist and you believe you're right all the time, you're just going to persist regardless of the clear lack of wisdom involved.
Now, I wasn't a friend of Hughie's to the extent that he didn't confide in me or anything like that, but I do remember a phone call out of the blue, maybe just months before he died. I answered the phone, and it was Hughie Green. And I was like, you know, blimey, what is this? And literally, he was just on for a chat. And it was, how are you? What are you doing? And he was reminiscing with me over the phone about stuff that happened 30 years ago. I felt sad for him because my conclusion when I reflected on it was that this is an old man who's now lonely and somewhat abandoned. And it was almost like he was going through his diary or his telephone book of all the people that he had once touched their lives, and he was just calling them up to check in. And I thought it was sad.
I was amazed and shocked when he died, because I thought he got a few more years left in him, and I thought perhaps they could have cured him. I didn't realise how bad it was, how poorly he was. When he died, it was a real shock. A great hole appeared in front of me. I'd spent all my adult professional life around Hughie.
At his funeral, his old journalist friend Noel Botham spoke, and in the eulogy, he started revealing home truths about Hughie Green's private life, for whatever reason.
There were a lot of gasps from the audience when he said, I always promised Hughie that he would go out with a bang. So I'm here to tell you this afternoon that Hughie Green is the father of one of the most recognisable TV presenters of the day.
He didn't name that person, but, said that was the case. And of course, once you've said that, that's going to come out now, who that is, because, there's going to be a feeding frenzy from the tabloid press and so on.
It was just a really inappropriate thing to bring up at a funeral. I know that the family were furious.
No, that was at the funeral, was it? Oh, my God.
I had no idea what he was going to do. He didn't mention any names. Apparently, according to one of my customers, he was told by Noel that Hughie had asked him to do that.
Hughie did have one affair with one lady, and I mentioned their offspring today in a eulogy at his funeral. Hughie's a mischievous sort of person, and I believe that he would have enjoyed the fact that I mentioned that in the eulogy. Other people in the congregation knew what I was talking about. Other people know the name of that lady. She's a very beautiful lady. She's a household name. She's in her 30s. Her mother's also well known. But I don't want to name the lady. That was up to Hughie to do it, not for me.
The press went mad the next few days trying to find out who it was.
Just after Hughie's funeral, I was rehearsing for a play. A member of the press came to the stage door wanting to talk to me. And they had been at Hughie's funeral, and weirdly enough, the press thought it was me.
We were waiting for it to come out, and a little bit on tenterhooks.
Absolutely disgraceful.
And then it was front page of the Screws of the World. News of the World, sorry.
Shocking.
But then you find out, wait, Hughie Green was her dad?
What do you react to that?
Hughie had a rivalry with a gentleman called Jess Yates.
There was bad blood between him and Hughie Green because Hughie Green had had an affair with Jess Yates' wife. The idea that Jess Yates' daughter, Paula Yates, I mean, for a start, that in itself, the fact that he was a father was kind of weird because, the formerly nicknamed the Bishop, stars on Sunday, and here's Paula Yates from the Tube, married to Bob Geldof, involved in the whole punk era stuff and all of that. That's weird enough. But then you find out, wait, Hughie Green was her dad?
So a lot of things fell into place, didn't they? A lot of the acrimony and revenge. Jigsaw puzzle fell into place.
It was the first time she heard who her real father was. What an absolute shock. Only finding out from a paper, probably not even knowing from her own mother. And then, in turn, she was obviously pursued.
At that time as well, Paula was very, very unsettled, and you knew that she wasn't a happy person.
Absolutely disgraceful, awful, shocking, dreadful, emotional. What do you react to that?
When you look at her picture, yes, you can see she's the spitting image of Hughie Green. So yes, it didn't take an awful lot to put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. Surprising that nobody had actually tweaked it previously.
It was then quite obvious, but to get that kind of public outing, you don't out people in public like that.
It's pretty common knowledge in here. It wasn't, you know, Hughie, he'd never mentioned any names because he wasn't that person, but he would talk about the names of his grandchildren and things like this, which was quite obvious who he was talking about. So it didn't come as a surprise in that way, no. Noel felt it was the right thing to do, and when Noel felt it was the right thing to do, he would do it. Whether he was right or wrong, it came from his heart. He felt that was what he should do.
Do you know how much Noel received for the News of the World story?
He didn't receive anything.
It's been reported that it was £100,000.
Pretty sure he didn't get anything for that story. That was not his motivation for that story. He could have sold that story years before, and he didn't. I think that's very untrue, but I can't swear by it, but I find that very, 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 very unlikely. He was a very honourable man, Noel. I'm sure I'd have noticed if he had an extra £100,000.
I remember it coming out. Of course, the thing that must have been devastating. I mean, if you suddenly find out that the person you thought was your father is not your biological father and somebody else was, somebody your father didn't get on with at all, and you find out by reading a newspaper, it's just horrible. It's such a kind of horribly sort of abusive, cruel, vicious situation.
Why do you think Hughie never told Paula he was her father while he was alive?
I've no idea what motivated Hughie to do whatever he did. It wasn't he would talk about them, he would mention them in passing. It was a quip.
Why have you been off the telly so long?
They'd take us both off if I told you the truth about that.
He was a showman and, you know, liked to keep people amused. I imagine he was pretty hurt that he hadn't been involved more in her life. I would imagine anybody would if there was a child that was theirs that they weren't allowed to spend time with or see.
It probably suited Hughie not to acknowledge Paula Yates as his daughter. I don't believe he'd been a particularly great father to his children by his marriage, and maybe he just didn't want the responsibility of a third child. Yes, although he might have been quite smug that he was the secret father to a child that belonged to somebody that he didn't like and had a history with, he probably got a degree of pleasure out of that.
The one really private conversation that we had, as she said, you know, I've had my whole life taken away from me, destroyed. All my childhood, my memories, my father, who was not. And I said to her, look, don't think that Jess Yates was your father. You had a father, always. Keep it that way. Hughie Green was just biological, purely.
From what I can gather, it was too much for her. It was. She absolutely could never come to terms with it.
And do you think you're going to get married?
Can you imagine what a devastating effect that must have had on Paula, who'd only just got over her own bereavement?
In a way, that devastation never left her. Awful.
This afternoon, the body of Paula Yates was removed from her home in Notting Hill, West London. She'd been treated for depression and drug and alcohol dependency.
Why Noel Botham chose to announce about an illegitimate daughter at somebody's funeral says an awful lot to me about the press of that time and about Noel Botham. We had a newspaper that is no longer with us. They would behave despicably to people and ruin people's lives.
Hello. So shocking to see you not outside our house.
I know.
It's really weird.
It would be nice to think that that doesn't happen anymore.
She was quite a fragile girl. It affected her deeply.
When he was touring with Hughie Green and his gang as a child star, essentially, he fathered a child. They had an assignation, and a child was born called Barry Hands, who bears quite strong physical resemblance to Hughie Green.
As far as I know, she wrote to him after she knew she was expecting one, and he didn't seem to want to know anything about me. I think there was a sum of £500 paid. Perhaps that's the reason I've never had a great deal of time for him, or even to see him like.
Phone could easily ring again. We know definitely that there are 3 more. Which is sort of unnerving because you do live with that sort of, is it going to be today? There's always a feeling. Will it happen?
I mean, for somebody who didn't want to have children ever, he had quite a lot.
Be sure the truth will find you out.
Right now, late command of time.
You know, he was somebody who was undoubtedly talented in 2 ways. First of all, I think he was a very talented performer. I mean, I think seeing the footage of him as a young kid, he was really talented as just a variety performer. And I think he was talented as a TV presenter as well.
Hughie Green was the star maker.
Les Dawson, Freddie Starr, Frank Carson, Lena Zavaroni, all these people who went on to become very successful. It was a great show in terms of promoting talent.
I would like to think Hughie Green will be remembered for making lots of stars out of basic working class people such as me and Eddie, which we wouldn't have got without Hughie Green and Opportunity Knocks.
It was just as important in its day as Britain's Got Talent is now, or indeed RuPaul or any kind of TV contest around the world.
Most of the shows today are contest shows. Can you bake the best cake? Can you sing the best song? It clearly struck a chord with people. I think he was also, on a personal level, quite monstrous. So you have to take into account the contradictions.
He also highlighted the fact that there's no room for egomaniacs and megalomaniacs to function where they then can lose sight of perspective.
For God's sake, Britain, wake up!
Hughie and Jess were rivals, and they left this legacy of that rivalry. Without, it seems, the foresight to think that there would be people who could perhaps be casualties along the way. Sadly, I think it tells a story of a time in our lives, of an era that I would hope has now passed.
A fire-breathing dragon at a children's parade that really does have hot breath causes chaos. Get ready for the ride of your life and when theme parks go horribly wrong, brand new tomorrow at 6:05. Next tonight, what a weekend Michael Portillo has in store for us. He's packed his thermals and off to Stockholm. And the best bit, we're going to brand new after the break.